How to keep people's attention during a presentation. I'm going to share 3 methods with you in this video, and the best part about these methods are you don't have to change at all who you are, right? Keeping attention is not about like coming back and standing on stools and doing crazy things. Like, you just be exactly who you are, and you can use these exact 3 methods. They're called, or named them, the contributed content method, the envelope method, and the Google method. And all 3 of them have been extremely useful in my job and role as a professional speaker, giving hundreds of presentations every single year. At the end of this video, you'll be a little bit wiser, a little bit smarter, and a little bit better at keeping people's attention in presentations. My name's Chad Littlefield. Let's get into it. This question, how to keep people's attention in a presentation, was inspired by a lovely human being named Derby, who was in a series of workshops that I was leading, and said, how do I really, when you got a fire hose of information, how do I really focus in and capture people's attention? So these 3 methods could all fall under the large umbrella of attention resets. They're all things that either throughout the method or at distinct points serve to reset the audience's attention, which is really useful, right? There's a reason that TED Talks are maxed out at 18 minutes. And in fact, I think that that's a little generous now. TED started a while ago. I think people's attention span has become quite a bit less than even that 18 minutes. It's the reason that 98% of my videos fall between 6 and 12 minutes, because I think that's closer to the amount of human attention. You can put it on 1.5 times speed, which if you're doing an asynchronous video presentation, not bad to invite people to speed up your video. That can increase attention because we speak at 150 words a minute, but we can listen at upwards of 350 words a minute. So method number 1, contributed content. It's this idea that content usually is designed for consumption. Me talking to you right now. Whereas I could say, and I'm gonna actually do this right now, it's a little bit odd in asynchronous format. It's easier when I'm live with a group on Zoom or in person, but I'm gonna say to you right now, as you're watching this video, I would love for you to contribute to the collective knowledge by commenting below with something that really stuck out to you, that you really love, that you wanna take and steal and apply. So between now and the end of the video, find your nugget that you want to steal and take away and drop it in the comments, right? So you see how I'm inviting that contribution rather than just presenting this nice little entertaining video, right? It's going to be informative. It's meant to be a little how-to informative video, but I also want to invite your contribution or participation. While you're commenting, if you want to smash the like button, feel free to do that too. Here are a few other ways that I invite contribution. Whether I'm virtual or in person with an audience, let's say virtual, inviting people's chat with a quick 1-word fill in the blank. And so in the same group that Derby was in that inspired this question, there was another lovely fella named Jason, and he shared a wonderful prompting question, which is right at the beginning of a gathering, to get everybody's intention out onto the table, ask, what are we all committed to in 1 word? What are we all committed to in 1 word? And can you throw that out? And when you see the chat light up, or people unmute and share, people are shouting out in an audience that 1 word to what everybody's committed to at that conference, at that event, at that workshop, at that meeting, whatever it is, it immediately takes your content and personalizes it to what people are actually committed to. And that does wonders for resetting people's attention. You could do those fill in the sentence kind of things multiple times throughout. You could also, to create contributed content, invite people to look toward their partner and share in 1 core sentence a key takeaway they've gathered so far. That would be a way to turn your content into contribution from the group. One way, I was working with Crayola Consulting on with one of their leaders on how to make their presentations, or this global quality management presentation, more interesting. And they shared this 52-slide deck with me, and I said, wow, that's a lot of slides. We're gonna put some people to sleep. How do we keep people's attention? And I just said, every 7 slides, insert a blank slide, and then ask yourself, what are you gonna do right before this slide or right after this slide to contribute content or to invite people's contribution? And so what we came up with a couple times was, I'm actually just gonna put up the slide, invite people to read it in silence, and then unmute and share what struck them about that information, right? That's a way to present information, but involve people in the process. Second, the envelope method I got from some brilliant people who wrote a book, mentors and friends of mine, wrote a book called Speakership, all about how the ability to speak and present is really the new form of leadership. And in it, they talk about the envelope method. And as a professional speaker, I literally wrote out the entire outline for 2 years worth of keynotes on envelopes. So for 2 years, I don't do this anymore because I feel like I almost think in this way now. So picture an envelope here, and the way they mapped it out is you've got your group or your context in the top. You have write a little bit about the problems that you're aiming to solve for them. Right at the center peak there, write one word. If you were to boil down your entire presentation into one big word, what would that be? And then in the main body part of the envelope, write numbers 1 through 3. And those are the only points that you are allowed to share in your presentation. If you have 97 points that you have to present, just don't do it. You might think it's important to have those 97 points, but I promise you people will only remember 3 of them, so you might as well just choose the 3 most important ones. So choose 3 points that you want to talk about. You might want to preview those ahead of time, like I did in this video. I said I'm going to share the contributed content method, the envelope method, which is where we are right now, and pretty soon the Google method. I didn't tell you what those are because I want to share them in depth, but I previewed them ahead of time, and now I'm mapping them out as we go. So you can actually see this video was recorded and kind of structured within the envelope method. And then at the bottom of any presentation, you want to have some call to action. So at the end of this video, you'll see my example of that I think you'll really love, that will be really useful to you. But you don't want to just share information. Conversations should create matter. They shouldn't just matter. Conversations should actually create difference. They should spark action. They should incite people to go do things and make the world a splash better, or make your world a splash better. Method number 3, the Google method. This is not an internal Google company method. This is more an idea that I discovered while leading a workshop with a group the other day. Will and I were co-leading this workshop, and we put up a definition. It was for an Inuit word that I can't pronounce, that basically pointed to this fact, or this concept, or this idea of creating an environment where wisdom reveals itself. Like, ooh, cool. If I can lead a presentation where I'm actually creating an environment where wisdom reveals itself, which the contributed content method is really good at doing, by the way. That's pretty cool. Now here's the thing. I noticed when we were presenting this, Will share this Inuit word, and my need to be right showed up. I was like, wait, is that really how you say, like, how do you pronounce that word? Is that really the root? Like, I don't want to butcher, culturally appropriate this word. And so I felt all of this like, I got to get it right, and I had to do all this research in order to share this. And that's fine, right? That's not bad to do. And what I decided instead, to be a little bit more open and to keep people's attention with content, is to say, pause. I shared this Inuit word, and then I said, now get out of Zoom, go bounce over to Google this word, and spend the next 2 minutes learning as much as you can about the context, origin, source of this word, and then come back and share with the group what you learned. Do you see how I just invited, in that workshop, I invited 20 people to go learn things, which is 2 minutes of learning times 20. That's 40 minutes of learning about a single word. That's happening all in 2 minutes, and we're able to collectively share that out really quickly. Super lovely method to be able to invite people's contribution. If you're in person, people have phones with Google on it. If you're virtual, you're a tab away from Google. And so use the Google method to invite people to actually search and research your content to make it more interesting and more engaging. Now, I told you in the envelope method, the call to action is really important. And so my call to action to you right now, and I'm gonna just say it to you, but I'm also gonna say it to Siri and remind me. I'm inviting you to do what I'm about to do, or the variation of what I'm about to do. Siri, remind me on April 25th to use the envelope method for my presentation. Whoop! Ha! Boom. It is done. What I would invite you to do right now is choose one of the 3 methods that I just shared. Ask Siri to remind you a few days before some presentation that you're going to give to use one or more of these methods. And that way you take this video from interesting to applied. And that's what I really care about, is helping leaders and educators make a difference in their own context. My name's Chad Littlefield. Have an awesome day.